On fertiliser, it's one of the pressure points right across the country at the moment. Is there going to be an investigation into fertiliser prices?
Well, listen, I mean, it's important that we actually, that farmers do plan and prepare in that regard. We want to see market returns being returned to farmers. It's something that's outside of my control as Minister. There's no point in saying anything else. It's a market piece. But I think it's important that the prices is available to farmers.
Do you feel there's unfair practices on the ground?
Well, I think it's important that the prices available to farmers reflects the market, but I think it's also important everyone prepares for the year ahead.
If you see farm bodies bringing fertiliser in from Northern Ireland and they're highlighting the fact that the fertiliser, there is a disparity in prices, what does that tell you?
Well, listen, it's a market issue, first and foremost. So, I mean, there's certain things I can control as Minister, and I do my absolute best to control them and to deliver on them, and that's, in relation to acres, in relation to the new suckler scheme, etc. The fertiliser market obviously is a private market. I don't have any policy levers in relation to that. It's a market situation. But what I would say is it's important that the prices that are available internationally are delivered upon domestically. And also my key objective as well and advice is to make sure is that everyone would engage with their with their sources and their suppliers.
No likely investigation then from the department on the disparity of prices on the ground.
Listen, I mean it's a market issue. What we need to ensure is that farmers are engaging with their suppliers. Farmers make preparations for the year ahead. We want to ensure that the grass is available, the fodder is there. I've stepped in as far as I can in relation to putting in a fodder support payment, of €1,000 last year, and actually paying forward last autumn as well to farmers to prepare for this year. So that's unprecedented.
Yeah.
That's
but
me.
It is a pressure point, and it is
a pressure
on your
point.
watch.
That's me. Well,
I know it's a commercial issue.
That's me intervening from the point of Minister to support farmers. Listen, I can only do what's possible. The farmers engage. The market then also needs to reflect what's happening, and particularly, in terms of the suppliers need to be reflecting the prices that's available in international markets too.
So, do you think there is a crisis in the sheep sector at the moment?
I think we have a real challenge in the sheep sector at the moment. Obviously, particularly around the input prices. And
will there be a rescue package?
So listen, I mean, obviously I have my budget for the year, and that's agreed every year at budget time. I got the largest budget ever this particular year, but I'm looking and I've tasked my officials in here to assess what capacity I might have to do extra, if possible, for the sheep sector.
And what about the Brexit adjustment reserve?
Listen, I'm exploring. I explore all options, but it's not specific. It's not. I mean, the challenge around the Brexit adjustment reserve is there's very specific qualification criteria for it, and it has to stack up in terms of meeting that criteria to be able to draw it down.
So have you ruled it out?
No, I haven't ruled anything out. I'm looking at all options. I understand the pressure the sector is under. Obviously, if I do anything, I have to find budget for it. I have a certain budget for the year. I have plugged in the sheep welfare scheme to this cap. It's plugged in now for the next 5 years. Many of the steps that I've taken in relation to the structure of this cap are steps which actually would benefit the sheep sector more than any sector. For example, the level of convergence that's happening. The front loading of payment is also really important, of payment or of entitlements is also really important for the sheep sector. And of course the big decision which was very much focused on the last few weeks is getting that across the line in relation to having a place for all who've applied for acres, because of course of all the sectors it's the sheep sector that delivers most for, I think.
But just coming back to sheep farmers today, what are you telling them? Because they're saying the prices just don't add up anymore and they just can't keep their farm units in business.
Yeah, well, what I'm telling them is, I mean, I understand the pressure that's been there, and it's been a challenging spring for finishers. Obviously, we're moving in now to the Easter lamb market. I'm monitoring the market very closely. It has risen somewhat in the last couple of weeks. I will monitor the market very closely as it evolves over the next few weeks. I want to support the sector. In terms of a dairy reduction scheme, I had brought together all farming representatives into the Food Vision Dairy Group. One of the recommendations that they had put forward to me as an option in relation to how we might reduce emissions, and given that there may be some people in the dairy sector that might be considering exiting, they had recommended to me the option of a dairy reduction scheme. I haven't concluded my thoughts on that. I will be engaging with farm representative organisations further around how we might step that out. My objective is to back all sectors and I mean, if you look at the suckler scheme, announced this week, I've had this week, I have record funding for the suckler sector because I want to support and maintain the suckler sector. That's why I'm delivering €150 cow on the first 22. Whereas in the outgoing scheme it was €90 on the first 10. So that's unprecedented. It's a massive increase. With the new BPS scheme, which I'm finalising the details of, I hope to work to ensure that I can bring that above €200 per suckler cow. So which is what I committed to trying to achieve in my manifesto in the last election. If I got the opportunity to be minister, or if Fianna Fáil got the opportunity to be in government, my commitment was I'd work to achieve €200, and I'm confident that we're on course to do that. So I want to support the suckler sector, I want to support the dairy sector, I want to support the tillage sector, all of our horticulture, pigs, sheep. Want to make sure we support all of them and support farm incomes in that regard.
You mentioned there about the new 1.3 billion forestry programme. When do you expect sign off on that from the European Commission?
So
have you made a formal submission at this
as
stage?
soon as possible? We're engaging week by week. I was in Brussels at an EU Council meeting on Monday, and I spoke directly with the EU Commissioner on this to try and ensure that we have as fast an engagement as possible in conclusion to the process. So listen, as I said from the start of the year, we can't be clear in relation to what the timeline would be, but we're working very very hard in relation to getting all of the ducks in a row.
Is the submission in?
We haven't made the formal submission yet, but we have made many submissions and there's been lots of correspondence, as recently again as yesterday, between the Commission and ourselves in relation to making sure that whenever we do make the submission that we can get as fast an answer as possible.
Do you take on board that some industry members are saying that tree planting is down and that they're in a mothball situation because they can't move forward at the moment? So,
well, we have new premiums now in place. And so anybody that plants today can get up to 60% higher premiums, 60% higher than they would have 3 months ago. And they'll get those premiums for 20 years as opposed to 15 years. That is there now, okay? Anybody that has a license can go ahead and plant. That is all there at the moment. It's not having the license is the problem, isn't it? So in relation to licenses, then we also hope in advance of having full state aid approval that we'll be able to open up for new license applications. Any licenses that we would have received up until the end of December, we're working on processing those, so that work is ongoing. We hope to open up shortly for new license applications to come in as well, so that we're actually working through new license applications. But there's a lot of license applications already live, already granted. There's enough for about 7,000 acres of forestry, and the new rates apply to those. You said at the beginning of the year that you were putting new mechanisms in place to work with Quilcha so that they work closer with the state. What progress has been made in that? The team here is continuing to engage with Quilcha. Obviously, Quilcha, under their new strategic plan, want to get back into the reforestation space. I think that's sensible, and we want to support them in a proportionate way to do that. So we're currently engaging with Quilcha in relation to what mechanisms we could put in place to support them in those efforts. No mechanisms yet? We're engaging with them to see what would be helpful and what would work.